Kate, do you have another speaker for me?
Yeah, we've got David Koper here.
Okay. David, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, John. How you doing?
Good. Where are you broadcasting from today, David?
I am in Baltimore right now, Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and get your PowerPoint up and running, and I'll go through your introduction. David Koper wants to teach you how to trade stress-free, make more money, and worry less. He has created a one trade a week trade service that yielded 112.34% return on investment in 2021 and a 183.98% return on investment in 2020. Koper offers Mastermind Access, one-on-one coaching, tip system access, and an alert service. He also instructs courses to teach everything you need to know to do this. His company is education-based with a vision to teach and train traders to be the best on planet Earth. So David, I see a D there. Is that the beginning of your PowerPoint?
Nope, but I'm sharing my screen now. Can you see it?
There it is. How to trade stress-free. That looks like it. So you have until 5 minutes before the hour, and then we'll give away another batch of prizes. Anybody have any questions for David? Just put them in the chat box on the right. I will mute myself and you have the floor.
Awesome. Thank you for that great introduction. And I also appreciate the invite to come here and present to all you traders and investors at this summit among some legendary investors here. So this is a presentation on how to trade stress-free, make more, and worry less. And I'm super excited to be here to present this. I think it's more important than ever that we start talking about mental health and trading. And as you may be guessing from the title, this is not going to be your typical financial presentation. We're going to present some real alert track record numbers at the end for the last couple of years. So be sure to stay until the end to see those numbers. But 1 hour just isn't enough to go into a deep dive of the full understanding of how and why the markets work. So to best serve you, I'm going to keep this presentation to like the high level strategy and also share my story and some real life examples to hopefully inspire you into a white heat of action to where you really want to learn how and why these markets work. Okay. So according to Business Insider, stock trader is the second most stressful job on Wall Street, right after investment banking. And according to the American Institute of Stress, the top 3 reasons for stress are money, work, and the economy. And 73% of people have stress that's affecting their mental health. So it's more important than ever to find ways to lower stress levels while trading and investing. And if you failed in the past, it's not your fault. There's a lot of misinformation about trading, and it can be confusing as well. Some of these common misconceptions I want to cover up front so that they don't impede your own trading journey and your progress here is that you can do this with a full-time job, and you don't need a whole lot of time to actually study the markets. And you also don't need a large amount of money to start. You can, start small. And in fact, we advise to start small, and that way you can just grow from a small count. And you also don't need any degrees or credentials to do this. Some more misconceptions is that the stock market is risky. And of course it's risky. I would argue that not knowing how and why the markets work is a lot more risky because there's risk every day in your life. Just getting up and going to work, right? That brings on risks in itself. And also, some people think that trading for some reason is bad and that you shouldn't be involved in it because it's not helping the markets. But trading is definitely helping When individual traders get involved in the market, it actually adds liquidity. And I always love to bring in more traders and add more liquidity to the markets. And you don't need a broker or advisor to do this as well. So these misconceptions can delay your success, or worse, cause you to give up. So if you've been concerned in the past that you can't do this, I'm here to tell you that you can do this. And a lot of it comes down to having the right teacher. So here's what you want to have going in. And so you being at a Trader Investor Summit, you probably have the basic math skills and the passion for trading, which is good. And you do want to commit a certain amount of time every week to stick to your strategy that you develop in your own plan, right? And you also want a long-term mindset, which is why I love talking to groups of traders and investors, because usually they do have that long-term mindset, and they're also ready to take action today, which is important because you need to manage your risk. So before we get into the actual numbers here, and then the next slide is just the outline of the presentation, but this slide is important. So all these numbers are intended for educational purposes only, okay? Trade at your own risk, and this information is being presented in good faith to try and educate you better about the markets, okay? So here is the presentation outline. And first, we're going to talk about the roadmap to $1 million, starting with just 1,000. And then we're going to get into the meat of the presentation, the keys to trading stress-free. And that is super critical. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about my qualifications, my story, sort of where I'm coming from, in a way to inspire you, so that if you're just getting started out, you're not going to give up, and you're going to continue until you get the results that you want. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the system overview that we have. Okay, so here's the roadmap to $1 million, starting with just $1,000 in year one. And I want to point out on this graph that in year 5, you're only going to have $32,000. And that may not sound like a lot to a lot of you. And some of you may even have that in your bank account now. And doubling up every year, you may be closer to 1 million than you think. You're just 6 years away. Okay. So I like to point that out. This is like the power of compound interest here. And the final missing piece is learning how to consistently double yearly. And we have the knowledge, tools, and strategy to get you there. The big trading companies, they want you to think that you can't do this, and that it's too complex and it's too time consuming, right? And that's just not true. You don't need a lot of time, but you do need the understanding. When you're considering partnering with a company, just make sure that the numbers make sense to you. And we're going to share our numbers here in a moment. But first, I want to say that we're a completely independent source with a very unique approach. You won't find this system and strategy anywhere else on the market. It's simple, it's consistent, it has great results, and it isn't time consuming. So here's the keys to trading stress-free. First is the basic understanding of how and why the markets work. That's step number 1. And step number 2 is having a written plan that you're following to the letter. And step number 3 is setting up a system so that you don't need to think. You're not going to get caught up in your emotions in the moment, and your system is pretty much going to work for you. But you definitely want to understand how the system works. Okay. And the last step to trading stress-free is tracking 4 key metrics. And we're going to get into those 4 specific metrics a little later in this presentation. Okay. So the key is the percentage returns per year must be high, ideally 100%. And we're going to share how to access our knowledge. But first, let me share some of my qualifications and why you should listen to me. So who am I, right? So I did graduate from the Harvard Business School Online for credential of readiness for business analytics, economics for managers, and financial accounting. And those 3 things are all super important in trading and investing. And I also joined a large proprietary trading firm in 2015, and I was there almost 2 years. I ended up leaving because the systems and the strategies I developed were actually outperforming that of the alert service of the proprietary company. So that's why I ended up leaving. I see a chat in the comments here, and I'll get to that at the end of the presentation. Okay, so just save that question till the end. And so before I share some real yearly numbers, I want to caution you that I've been doing this for 14 years. Of course, there's people like John who have been doing it for 50 plus, okay? And they probably have even better results than me. But I just want to say that because don't expect similar returns without a great strategy and system in place, okay? So here's my main brokerage account for my main trading company. And we were up 600% year over year at one point. And I'm sharing this not to brag, just to show you what's possible by only making a small amount of trades per week and not spending a whole lot of time at all doing this, okay? And this was a team effort. So we do have a team in place, and there are a lot of traders in my mastermind that are feeding me ideas too. So don't just think it's just me here. And it's often your network that drives your net worth, right? Personal connections matter a lot. And that's why I want to share my story, who I am, and where I'm coming from. I'm going to take 5 minutes here just to share a little bit about myself, who I am. And hopefully this will inspire you wherever you are in your trade journey to continue on into where you have your own system and strategy that you're employing, okay? So that's me with the one trade a week hoodie. And here's my story. So it all started when my grandfather planted the seed to trade. And growing up, he was the only person that I knew to trade individual stocks. And he would always be watching the markets. And he had a big house, and he had a great lifestyle that he was living with a pool out back. And that got me interested in trading. So that was me at a young age, interested in trading in the markets. But I didn't pursue finance right away. I graduated as an engineer in 2007. And I also put on about 40 pounds going to school there. It wasn't the freshman 15, it was more like the college 40 there. But yeah, I graduated as an engineer, and I started working there shortly after. That's me in my Collingswood, New Jersey townhouse there. I was taking up the floors. So with no plan, no system, and no strategy, I made my first trade with my first paycheck. And shortly after that, I bought a small townhouse in Collingswood and signed on for a 30-year mortgage. And shortly after that, I lost my job. So I was super depressed. I was down. And on top of that, of course, I lost big in the markets because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have that knowledge that I needed to be able to put up those numbers that I showed in the beginning, right? But I kept at it, and I picked up the pieces, and I was lucky enough to get a government job. And I guess the Army Corps of Engineers really needed engineers to hire this stressed out guy right here. And shortly after that, my grandfather sadly passed away from brain cancer in 2010. And that was a really tough time for me because he was my only mentor in the stock market. So, but yeah, I wanted to do something different to sort of clear my mind. So I took a calculated risk, and I volunteered to serve as a civilian engineer in a war zone. So this is what really started my personal transformation. And there were rocket attacks on the base daily. We even lost some US Army Corps personnel. And it was being faced with the real possibility of death on the job that I got my big epiphany moment and realized the legacy that I wanted to leave for myself and, hopefully my kids one day. I didn't know much else, but I knew that I wanted to be known for teaching trading because that's what I had a passion for. And I was so grateful to return in one piece, thanks to the US service members, that I gave away free trade education to service members and veterans. And we continue that tradition today. We still do that. So if you're a service member or veteran, definitely reach out to me. My email is support@dkope.com. That's DKOPE.com. Okay. And I'll throw that in the comments as well at the end. So once I got the best knowledge, I knew immediately that I could begin to help millions of people. So I went all in. I sold my house to raise the money for this idea that I'm about to share. And I also got to meet some of the smartest people in the industry along the way. And that's a picture of me and Tony Robbins there. I'm actually not too tall. I'm pretty short, especially compared to Tony there. So that's my short story, which brings us to the next phase of this presentation, the system development. So here's the system overview. We developed a 3-step process to swing trading. We also created a return on investment equation that you're not going to find in the market anywhere. So definitely want to pay attention to that part and take some good notes if you have a notepad and a pen. And then we're going to get into the 4 trade metrics to track. And these 4 trade metrics are really going to increase your confidence long-term. And lastly, we're going to share some alert highlights as well as some results that our clients are getting. So the first big picture thing is the process. And we have a simple 3-step process that we teach here at Tippink. And step number 1 is to find the best opportunity. Now, this is sort of a process in itself, but we've created a system and a strategy that makes it easier for you to find the best opportunity in one of the best stock screeners on the market. We've built some proprietary screeners that sort out the best opportunities in the market at the time. And step number 2 is make only the best trade. So it's important not to overtrade. You don't want to be taking all these trades. You just want to place the best trade in the moment. And it helps when you have a system and strategy that sort of shortlists those opportunities. And then you can use deductive reasoning to get the best trade in the moment. And lastly is to automate your exit. This way, you don't have to think about it really. You don't have to watch the markets all the time. You just set your limit orders, sell at a certain level, and the trade should work itself out. Okay, so that's the 3-step process. And the strategy is mainly based on this ROI equation that I'm about to share. So here's a pie chart of the different factors that we think that make up your return on investment. And the first thing is the position selection. That's definitely big. It matters what you're buying and selling, but I do want to highlight that that's not everything. Okay. Your management strategy is a big portion of it. Like, when are you going to buy and sell? And at what levels are you going to take profits? And at what levels are you going to just cut off your losses, right? And the last piece of the pie is position sizing. How much are you going to risk in each trade? And we have a way to make this consistent. So we'll share that in a little bit. Written in a different way, it's just return on investment is a function of position size, position management, and the underlying security. And I do want to point out that the underlying security is not everything. It's just a small piece in the bigger ROI pie. Okay, that's mainly what we're trying to get you to see here with this general return on investment equation. So theory is important, but execution is everything, and you must be tracking your numbers. We track 4 trade metrics to measure performance. And these 4 metrics are return on investment, average hold time, win-loss percentage, and reward to risk ratio. So here is a chart of our 1 trade a week alert strategy versus the S&P 500 in 2021. Okay, and the numbers that we track are on the screen there as well. So return on investment was 112.23% in 2021. And that's just with 52 trades. That's 1 trade a week. The alerts go out at the same time every week. So we're consistent about that. And I also did want to put up every single trade. This is our golden trade template tracker. This is how we track all our trades. And it is part of the software suite if you do decide to opt into the course and the alerts as well. So that was the last half of 2021, and this is the first half. So these slides will be available for download. I'll send a link in the chat at the end of the presentation on where you can download these slides. But just so you know, here's every single trade in the year. And 2020 metrics, we were tracking the same exact 4 numbers. Okay, so return on investment, win loss, average hold, reward to risk. And here's how we stacked up against the S&P 500 in 2020. And I do want to point out, in the beginning of 2020, the markets dipped off about 30% in the first quarter. Okay, but because we were picking the best opportunities in the moment, a lot of the trades had to do with COVID testing and vaccines. And that's why we were able to outperform the markets in the first quarter and then, through the end of the year. And here's all the trades in 2020. I put them in here just so you have them and you can look back and see all the entries and the exits and the dates and stuff. So we created a strategy and a system to make this simple and stress-free. It has consistent inputs and consistent outputs. We believe it's the best trading system and strategy on the market. The fastest way to learn this is to access and leverage our systems. It comes at a premium because we're a boutique educational company. We're hands-on and I'll be directly involved in plan development. No other company is offering this sort of intimacy with the founder. We've standardized things with checklists, templates, and standard operating procedures. Here's some of the results that our clients are getting. So Natalia is a mother of 3, and she can't spend a whole lot of time doing this. She had no experience coming in. She started with a small amount. She spends about 4 minutes a week doing this, and she was up 260% in 12 months. So that's pretty impressive with no experience coming in. This can be simple, it can be stress-free, it can be time-saving, and it can be lucrative. SL Trading is another one of our clients. They specialize in commodities trading. So I do want to say that this strategy and this system can be applied across all industries and sectors. Okay, this isn't just stocks, which is what our alert service is. This is everything from commodities to Forex to even crypto trading. I've seen people use this strategy and system successfully in crypto as well. And the founder of SL Trading said that this strategy, he uses it to increase his trade confidence and lower stress, which is what this is all about. Okay, so I was super happy that he was quoted for saying that. And it's unlikely that you're going to be able to create a similar strategy and system without investing a lot of time and money into it. Nick Antrilli was another client of ours. He's a father of 2, and he has a full-time job as an engineer. He did have a little experience trading coming in, but not too much. It wasn't that much at all. And he spends about 15 minutes a week doing this, and he was up 180% in 18 months. So that's pretty impressive results for him as well. And now we're going to get into some alert examples. And I do want to caveat this by saying, we're picking the best examples out of all the trades. There were, for every winning trade, there was a losing trade. It's just the winning trade was a lot more than the losing trade, right? The winning amount was a lot more than the loss amount. And you can calculate that by your reward to risk ratio. That's why we track reward to risk ratios. Okay. So AEHR, this was alerted in July when it was trading around 327. And so these alerts are meant to be obvious plays. And I like using the term sort of perfect storm scenario, where everything's aligning and it just looks like a great opportunity. And any really savvy trader and investor would see that opportunity and think, yes, this is a no-brainer, and this is a good idea and a good investment or a good trade to, whatever your plan or strategy is going to implement. Okay. So AEI chart ended up doing really well. It ended up running up to 24, it even had 26 all the way from 3. So that's pretty impressive. Another example is VTNR. This was alerted at 185 back in March. Back in May. This was alerted at 185. And shortly after that, it gapped up 100% and then ran all the way to 14. Okay, so here's a great example of what the alerts could yield in the following couple months. Okay. Another example is Sava, and this was alerted around 12, and it eventually ran all the way up to 110. This trade took a little time to materialize, but it did end up running way up a lot higher in the following 6 months. And we did have an alert subscriber that told me personally, Julie, that she made $30,000 off this trade. So that's not unreasonable for you to hit big gains like that off of just one trade, and it is possible. So let me ask you a few questions here. Are you excited about what you learned here? And you could just, a show of hands. Would you find? Yeah, somebody's typing in the chats. Yes. Okay. Nice. Awesome. And do you feel overwhelmed because we've covered so much, or are you kind of not too overwhelmed because you guys are already trading and investing? I see Carol's comment. Can you give any specific alerts? So that Excel sheet that I had that showed every single trade, that's every single trade in the last 2 years. It's part of the slides. You can download this at the end of the presentation as well. Okay, so some of you are not overwhelmed. That's good. All right. Does it feel like you're trying to drink from a fire hose right now with all this knowledge here? Anyone? So some light humor here. Okay, so a few of you are commenting a bit. All right, that's nice. So is it okay if I go over a special offer to help you trade stress-free in the markets, make more, and worry less doing it? All right. All right, I'm getting a lot of yeses. Nice. Okay, so here's the offer. It's tips, system access, and support. We do have call support. We do offer a 30-minute coaching call for everyone that opts into this offer. And we also offer text support, which is super helpful because people get answers on the spot. Like right when we send out the alerts, we'll have new people text me back like, oh, why'd you make this trade and stuff like that. And I'll answer it right on the spot. So that's super helpful. And to anyone that's really trying to understand why we made the trade and things like that. So here's the offer, the 30-minute coaching call, system access, which is instant access. You can start learning this stuff right away. We do have a main trading course, which is an advanced course for traders, as well as a pattern trading course, which is more for beginners. If you're not familiar with all the patterns that you should be looking for, then that course is super helpful with that. And we also have a software suite of tools and not only plan templates, also trade templates, 10-point qualifying checklists, a super user-friendly interest calculator, which makes it fun to extrapolate out, see what percentage you need per year to get to your long-term goals. Okay, so that's the system access and the support, and we were offering it for $5,997, but we do have a special Mad Hedge offer here. But some of the benefits that you're going to get from this information is you're going to have a lot more time freedom to do what you want, and maybe even spend some time thinking about what your legacy what you want your legacy to be, and how to grow your trading company as to where it's not just you, maybe a team of people that you bring on to trade with you, right? And you're going to have a better understanding of how and why the markets work. And this is going to improve all aspects of your life, and your quality of life is going to improve as well. Okay, so this is the system access and the support again. And for the people that are definitely serious and want to do this, we want to reward the fast action takers. And they're the best ones to work with as well, because they know what they want, right? So the first 10 traders to act on this offer are going to get an additional $2,000 off. And so the total price for the system access and the support would be $3,997. Okay, so that's the offer. And so you do have some options here. You could continue with your current strategy and system, right? Just don't expect different results, because if you're doing the same thing, you're probably going to get similar results, right? And the next option is to opt into the tips system access and tech support and get the best information fast, right? And this is recommended if you have the financial means. This is definitely the way to go, because you're going to get that confidence right away. And your last option is to gain tips system access, the tech support. And we have an offer bump on the page, on the link, that you can add the text alerts. So if you were looking for that, I think maybe somebody had a question about where to get the text alerts, but it's an offer bump at the end, and it's an extra 2,000. So if you have the means for that, that is highly recommended. And that's going to give you a good idea about what trades we're actually making in the moments. Okay. So here's the system access and support. Again, I'm going to leave this up on the slide, and then I'm going to go back and see who had questions. So I guess I'm going to start from the bottom. Does this mean that I'd get the trading text service for life with the offer? No. So the alert service is per year, on a per year basis. It's $2,000 per year. Can you provide an example of the type of trades you make so a prospect can have a feel of the degree of risks taken? So the 3 trade examples that I gave are exactly examples of that. And also you can go back to that Excel sheet where I gave the first half and the last half of the year, the Excel, the golden trade template tracker. There's 4 slides in here that cover all the trades in the last 2 years of the alerts. So you can see the entrance, exits, everything like that. So hopefully that answers your question. Do you teach to find these trades, or do you just send alerts? So that's what the course is all about, is about learning how and why the markets work, how to find the best opportunities in the moment, how to implement this 3-step swing trading process to where you can get this result. You don't need to rely on the alert service, okay? The alert service is nice to have. It's a good independent check. At least that's what I believe to be true. And it's just a good check to have, okay? So if you don't have the financial means for the $6,000 total, I would suggest just opting into the $4,000 system access and support, okay? So can you give specific alerts? I think we already covered that. AEHR has a volume today. So remember, we're setting targets. So the AEHR trade, we were out at the 40% target. We didn't capitalize on the 700% run up, although many of our traders have different strategies, right? So the 40% target was the alert strategy. That's something that we set at the beginning of the year. We set that 40% target at the beginning of the year. Okay, does that make sense? So don't look at AEHR today and think, oh, like it looks bad today, because it's just not. That's not what this strategy is about. We're about setting targets and taking profits when we hit those targets. Is this a trading system only? I'm sorry, as opposed to what? Who Mauricio, could you be a little more clear on what you mean? Is this a trading system only? We do give access to our entire system with the screener that we use, that we have built-in stock screeners that shortlist the best opportunities. I don't know if that's what you're getting at with that question. Is this a trading system only? Okay. Examples of trades. Okay. Well, I think I answered. Oh, I'll go back to the very beginning because I didn't. Oh, I think this was before the presentation started. Okay. So if I didn't answer anybody's question, just type it in again because I must have missed it. After we take the course, will we be able to select the trades ourselves using the screener and set exits? So yes, you should be able to develop your own plan that has your own criteria with your own targets. But we do give you a general formula that has been working. That's the alert strategy. And that's more of a guide to show you what results you can expect and what numbers we're tracking, like last year and 2 years ago. That way you can have some idea of the results that you're going to get. But yeah, the course is designed to give you the understanding so that you have confidence to make the trade in the moment. Does that make sense? Well, hopefully that does make sense to all of you. And some of the benefits of acting sooner is you're going to have higher returns short term, right? Because you're going to get the information right away and you're going to be able to implement it. And this is going to change the trajectory of your entire financial future. You're really going to have a changed life and change habits. You're going to start thinking things through a lot differently with the systems that you're creating. And on top of everything, you're going to be living stress-free much sooner, which is what this is all about. So hopefully this sounds like a great opportunity to all of you. And we do have some examples here of what's in the course. I do want to say this is not your typical trading course, okay? We cover things like philosophy and mindset and attitude, and you don't see that a lot in your typical trading courses, but this stuff matters, and this matters a lot, even more so, I would say, than your technical analysis. You know, I'm sure you've heard a lot about technical analysis and fundamentals in other presentations, and that's all well and good. You definitely need to understand that part of it, but you also need to understand yourself and what causes you to actually make these moves in the market, right? Because that's an important piece of it as well. And then the planning, the accounting of everything is super helpful to know. And once you know that, then you're going to be able to read balance sheets of other companies as well. And that's a super useful thing to know moving forward. And also, we get into things like meditation and slowing down the trade in the moment so that you're not as stressed out in the moment when you're making these trades. And you really don't want to be acting with emotion, and you don't want to be stressed out when you're doing this. You want to have high confidence that what you're doing is the right move, and that you're not worried about your results because you know what to expect from your last sample size of trades. And I would say 50 trades is a good amount to draw some numbers, some real numbers from it. So if you do go back to your last 50 trades and you calculate your return on investment and your hold times and your reward to risk ratio, okay, those numbers should all give you confidence moving forward. And if they aren't giving you a lot of confidence, then maybe you should consider partnering with a a trading company or an education company to learn this as you grow in your trade journey. Okay. And lastly, we go through how to actually apply your plan in the market. And we also talk about some of the reasons why you're doing it, and deeper than just money, right? Because at the end of the day, you're going to need something to fall back on. If you have a bad day, you're going to have losses, right? Losses it's just part of the trading game. And you need those reasons to keep you going in the moment. And so I have another comment here. Can you describe the actual type of trades entered into? So we don't, I see you have a lot of options trading references. We don't do any options trading. We don't teach any options trading. So I do plenty of options trading myself, but we don't teach any of it. We're just buying and selling equity in companies. And that's mainly because fundamentally, that's what you want to get down first. Before you decide to go the options trading route, you want to make sure that you can be highly profitable just buying and selling the stocks. Once you prove that you can do that, then, by all means, feel free to add some complexity with some options trades. But yeah, the verticals, iron condors, single strikes, we don't do any options trading here. It's all buying and selling stock itself. There are plenty of companies that we do alert that you could implement some of these strategies, like bull spreads, for example, would be a strategy that you could implement on some of these companies. I won't say that you can do it for all of them because some of them aren't optionable, unfortunately. But we've found that we're getting great results regardless. You don't need to be trading the options. You just buy the underlying security and set the target price and wait until it hits the targets. Okay. So hopefully this is making sense to everyone and you're all excited about this offer and excited to get started in this program here. So I'm just going to leave this slide up, but feel free to keep commenting, especially if you're confused at all as to anything that I said. Definitely ask your questions now. I don't know, got to check the time here, but I think we have plenty of time. And there's the offer link as well. So for any of you that want to access the system right away, feel free to click on that offer link. Okay. So that's pretty much it for the presentation here. And I'll drop in the chats a link to the slides so you can download that as well. Okay, just give me 1 second here. So I threw up these slides on dcope.com. And if you go there, well, I'll start to screen share again just to bring you to the offer page here. And so once you get to the offer, you can enter your information and click on the next step in the funnel. And the slides are available for download on dcope.com. And this is the main landing page, but I threw up a link to download the Mad Hedge presentation slides here. Okay, so that'll take you over to our slides here, and you can download them right here. Okay, and the offer link is also at the end of the slides. If you lose it in the chat, you can choose that as well. I think you should charge $8,500 for this stress-free course worth an MBA. Yeah, so this is incredibly valuable information. Okay, and we totally could charge more. We're trying to level the playing field here and cater to beginner investors as well that are just getting started. And at the end of the day, we do want more people to learn this information because it is super stressful out there, and it's not easy to do this. So we're trying to make it as simple and straightforward as possible by giving you the access to these systems, to this strategy, and to all these super useful software tools like the 10-point checklist, the trade plan template, super useful tool, as well as our golden trade template tracker. I didn't even put that up on the list, but that has all the built-in formulas for when you're tracking your own trades. And it's very easy to use. The inputs, it's just like using an Excel sheet, except for the formulas are built in. Okay. So that is really the end of the presentation here.